Shalom Israel. It's been a long time I've not put out a video because all my videos are inspired by Hashem, God Almighty. So today I'm going to be making a video about a variety of issues ranging from a certain rabbi, Rabbi Rosenberg, Harry Rosenberg. I like him a lot. He's speaking truth to power. I like his Socratic take on the issue of who is a Jew and who is not. He seems to me to have a broad-based, viewpoint regarding, Judaism. Because the issue of who is a Jew is one that he has a complicated understanding of who is considered a Jew and who is considered a Gentile. So I'm going to be, talking about some of the very, very, transformative and often, powerful opinions he has been espousing, in social media. I'm also going to talk about some of the artifacts that further supports the narrative, that Igbos have a Jewish heritage. And then a whole lot of other things that I'm going to be articulating in this video. But first of all, let me just begin by, kind of reinforcing, and echoing some of the ideas and opinions and logics that have been espoused and articulated by Rabbi Harry Rosenberg. He was born in New York, but now he lives in Israel. He's now a rabbi. Both of us have once exchanged, communication, through Facebook, and we did have a vigorous disagreement, serious, significant conversation regarding the concept of, Igbos being referred as lost Jews. And I did, explain to him that we no longer consider ourselves as lost Jews. We were submerged and kind of obscure. But that doesn't mean we were lost. And he did graciously explain to me how that concept came about. And, that was a learning curve for me. But today, I may have, floated this idea, but in a very, very, small, insignificant way. The idea that Igbos need to stop the dream of making Aliyah or, mass migration to Israel, like, Jews of Western, Eastern, and Europe have been doing. Everybody wants to make Aliyah. And by the way, Aliyah is just a migration. You are putting yourself from one locale to Israel to live there permanently. So, and I did say that Igbos must try to build enduring Jewish communities in their enclaves, in their villages, in their towns, in their communities. And then he came and kind of stretched the concept a little further, using the idea of scaling Israel. Scaling Israel means that it's something akin to having your Israeli presence. Is a global kind of a concept where Israel is going to have a global presence, not just in the 10,000 square miles that is today Eretz Israel. But Israel, like the United States, has Virgin Island as one of its territories. So Israel will now begin to identify communities that are self-identifying Jews, like the Igbos. So the rabbi, the good rabbi, I like to call him, is suggesting that instead of people just, having so much romanticism, and there's nothing wrong with that, and nostalgia about, uprooting themselves and relocating their families to Israel, why don't they just stay where they are? And then Israel, as a reciprocal gesture, will now provide resources that range from electricity supply to agricultural input to sustainable water, technology. Of course, water technology is one technology that Israel has excelled itself in around the world. And I thought that was a very powerful, idea, which can bring the needed development to the Igbos. Electricity is one of our problems. Nigeria, since its independence, can never get it right in this sector of the economy. Communities are without electricity, and those who have the national grid don't even see electricity. So if Israel can, provide electricity in our communities, you're going to see such a transformation. People, Igbos, have a lot of skill set and competencies in different endeavors of life. Shoemaking in Aba, very close to my village, Moaba. Shoemaking is in Aba. They have different clusters where Israel can, build an electrical grid that can, support that local industry. They have a tailor. They make a garment. Most of the traditional outfits that are made by our local artisans, and they have a leather works, bags, and so on and so forth. So so if Israel can, bring those resources closer to self-identified Jewish communities, not just in Nigeria, the ones identifying themselves in India, in Japan, in Afghanistan, and I'm going to talk about the Pashtuns and other, less likely Jewish communities that Rabbi Harry Rosenberg has identified as Jews. So that's one way the scaling Israel idea can become a powerfully manifestation of Israeli global presence. I know that Israel has been fighting wars, trying to ward off the Arabs at one time or the other. Now they're dealing with the Palestinians. But if Israel can, begin to, exercise its, global authority, by encouraging Jewish communities around the world, the idea of just, assimilating so many Jews in Israel would, become, will become a non-issue. And then I'm very happy that, in my last video I did commit some, bloopers. I had some slip of tongue where I instead of saying that Nigeria must relocate its embassy from wherever it is to Jerusalem, since Donald Trump has given us Jerusalem as the undivided capital of Israel. Nigeria, in reverence and in respect to over 40 million Igbo Jews, must relocate the Nigerian embassy from Tel Aviv or wherever to Jerusalem, so that our embassy can be located there like the United States Embassy, making Jerusalem the undivided, uncontested capital of Israel. So I just wanted to slip that in. So, and then another, very impressive, kind of articulation, very impressive, idea that Rabbi Harry, Rosenberg is bringing is the iTribe, website. I try to go to that website to register my community as a self-identifying Jewish community. I wasn't able to do it, but I'll keep trying. But I'll keep trying, and I'm gonna probably send him an email, messenger, through my messenger handle, to tell him that I've been trying to register my community as a self-identifying Jewish community. So the idea is to locate Jewish communities wherever they are, so that they can, have a one-stop, website where they can, exchange ideas, and then, identify themselves, so that they can, they can come under one umbrella. It's called iTribe. And I saw that, I liked it, and I think I heard it in one of his YouTube videos where he was, presenting, some of his ideas. I think it was a seminar or a workshop. So I thought that was a very brilliant idea where, it's a non-profit, endeavor. It's not being propagated or pushed by the Israeli Ministry of the Interior or Ministry of Diaspora Affairs or some of those reputable non-profit organizations like Shaveh Israel or Israeli Agency and so on and so forth. But he's doing this single-handedly just to, encourage self-identified Jewish communities to come together under one umbrella. And then I also want to commend him for the manner in which he has been, propagating the idea of Igbos as the largest, Jewish diaspora in West Africa. I know there are the Lemba, Jews, the Abu Daya, I don't really know if I can pronounce that right, from Uganda, and other Jewish communities. But the Igbo Jews is one, Jewish diaspora community that has come up in some of his seminars and some of his presentations. Up until this time, nobody from the mainstream Jewish community has deemed it necessary to recognize or mention the Igbo Jews as people with Jewish heritage. Just because he has we've been coming up in many of his presentations doesn't mean the matter has been settled. Before the Rabbinate Council or the Israeli Ministry of Diaspora Affairs or Ministry of Interior, thereby now confirming or affirming the Igbos as Jews. We know we are. Sometimes I get very frustrated, and I try to tell people that we don't need anybody to validate us. I'm just saying that to those people that don't matter. I'm not saying that to the Jewish Agency or the Ministry of the Interior or the Rabbinate Council or the Ministry of Diaspora Affairs or the Shaveh Israel. They are the ones we're going to rely on. And I like the way they are approaching this matter. They are collecting information and data. They are seeking the truth. They are not relying on genetic, sampling or genealogy, examination or DNA to determine who is a Jew and who is not. We're not waiting on any DNA or any genealogy test. We are seeking the truth. We are seeking evidence, in terms of heritage, in terms of language, in terms of artifacts. I'm talking about artifacts. If you look at this Igbo hat, this is an Igbo hat. You're going to see, in terms of, I'm going to talk about artifacts because I told you in the beginning of my video that I'm going to just touch on various aspects of Igbo Jewish life. So if you look at this Igbo hat, you're going to see a striking similarity, with the talit. Talit is the prayer shawl, prayer shawl that Jews wear when they want to pray, or even at different forum and events. So you're gonna see this horizontal lines running across from side to side or left to right of this talit. And then you're gonna also see you're also gonna, I don't want to cover my face. You're gonna also see what is called the cord, or the sisit, or the fringes, on all the corners of this garment. So you're gonna see the similarity, in terms of the look, how they look alike. So you're going to see this Igbo hat worn by our forefathers, before the first and second temple fell in Israel. This is the way Igbo Jews identified themselves as different. And so you can see the horizontal lines also running from left to right, different colors, mimicking. I don't know which one came first. And I believe the Igbo hat must have come before the prayer shawl or the talit. So, and then you're gonna also see the sisit, the cords, that even though they are not, because it's not practical, it's not pragmatic to put them on the four corners of this hat. But our fathers, in their own wisdom, placed the cord over on the crown of the Igbo hat. So you can see similarity. And then when you look at the Akwete cloth, Akwete, woven cloth. I don't have it now, but I'm going to show it. It has a striking similarity too with the prayer shawl, the talit. Those are different, artifacts that, lend credence to the fact that Igbos are, Hebrews, they're Jews, everything, everything we do, kind of resembles or, mimics a Jewish way of life. We, circumcise our newborn, boys on the 8th day. We, bury our dead among them just like Jews do. Even the way we name our children, we don't eat pork. We don't eat a camel. We don't. Forbid all the things that are forbidden by mainstream Jewish communities. So I just wanted to just show this Igbo hat, how similar and how these horizontal lines kind of resemble Jewish garments. So that's one other important similarity, and then in my attempt also to continue to kind of piggyback on what the good Rabbi Harry Rosenberg has been saying. He is the only one who has done the research and then come to the conclusion. And it took him time. He didn't just wake up one day and say, look, Igbos are Jews. No. And he's marshalling out facts and evidence, even ranging from the massacre of the Igbos beginning from 1945, when Igbos were massacred in Jostown in the northern Nigeria, to the Kano massacre during the same time period in the 50s, to the Zaria Kaduna massacre in the 60s, and then the massacres during the Nigerian Civil War from 1967 to 1970, leading to the over 6 million deaths, 3 million of them through starvation. The same crisis and existential consequences that Jews faced in Europe, from the pogroms, from the Holocaust and the massacres that they had to endure, were also visited on Igbos, which also lends credence to the fact that these people are joined at the hip. Whatever affects one or at one point or the other affected the other. So he's been, presenting all these pieces of evidence to show that Igbos have a Hebrew heritage, and they are, they have a Hebrew lineage, and they are of the same seed of Abraham. And then I wanted to also, kind of, reinforce the idea of scaling Israel, because it has to be the fulcrum around which my video will revolve today. Scaling Israel is a very powerful, strategy to make sure that Jewish communities are, reached and embraced all around the world. I know that Israel has been reluctant in, affirming and confirming Jewish communities around the world, because, particularly the Igbos, because of our sheer number. There is no reliable, population count. But the figure that is being thrown around is between 40 and 80 million Igbos, and it's impracticable for that number to make Aliyah or migrate to Israel. And I don't even think Igbos want to uproot themselves in that large number. But there are, approximately 10,000 to, 25,000 practicing Jews, including myself. I'm a practicing Jew. So, if you see some of the videos on YouTube, Igbos, it seems to me, and many will agree, fall within the Reform Jewish movement. Our forefathers practiced the Orthodox conservative, Judaism, kind of a movement. But because most Igbo Jews in this day and age are re-emerging after thousands of years of being disconnected from Judaism, they find themselves in the reform movement. You see them dancing around, playing the piano, the guitar. I know that I've read some of the reactions on social media where some people have said, "Oh, well, they don't speak, Hebrew." But my reaction has been that it's not every self-identifying Jew that that has a Hebrew language proficiency. And there was one video that I watched where Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was addressing a Jewish community in Singapore. And he said, "Look, I noticed that all you people don't speak Hebrew." But you see, so that does not detract or preclude them from being Jews. It's just that Jews were scattered around the world, and some people lost track of the language. It wasn't even, long ago that the language was reintroduced into Israel by a certain gentleman. So, and that does not mean that I am making excuses that Igbos don't need to be proficient in Hebrew. I'm learning how to speak Hebrew myself. Actually, I'm learning a certain blessing. When I take my, talit, the blessing starts with Baruch, Ata, Adonai, Elohim, Melech, and so on and so forth. I'm trying to learn the rest of that blessing. So just to let you know that we're not idle, we're learning the language. It's going to take time. And then, learning a language where you are not surrounded by people who speak the language it can be problematic too. It has its own disadvantages. There's, the concept of the Vygotsky's concept of a zone of proximal development is that this is where you are, but this is where you want to get to. So you need some, support, scaffold, and structures to help you get here. So right now I'm in my zone of proximal development, but I need, supports, I need structures, I need scaffolds to help me get to Hebrew language proficiency. So I just wanted to make clear. I just wanted to be clear about the fact that Igbos are not proficient in Hebrew language, not because we don't want to. It's just the structures, the scaffolds, and the supports are not there. And then, so the idea that scaling Israel will bring the needed infrastructure to us is a welcome development. It has not been concluded, but I thought it was something that we need to further propagate, so that people can start, keying into Rabbi Harry Rosenberg's, suggestion and opinion and articulation about scaling Israel, whereby resources, agricultural input, sustainable water, resources, electricity. The electricity is the most important aspect of this scaling Israel, strategy that is gonna, help support and elevate Igbo Jewish communities wherever they are. And by the way, Igbo Jews are scattered all over the world too. That's one another point that must be made here. Igbos are all over the world, even in Antarctica, even where people don't exist. You see them setting up their small businesses and they're doing their businesses just like Jews. Jews are all over the world. Igbos have the same mindset because they come from the same roots. They come from the same seed of Israel. You see them everywhere doing their businesses. And then one more thing I wanted to say is that I've been watching in social media about certain laws and edicts attempting to uproot a lot of Africans from Israel. A lot of Africans who don't have status in Israel. And I'm thinking to myself, I hope this is not going to affect the Igbo Jews, because they're home free. So that if the executives of state who are implementing these laws, they gotta be cognizant of the fact that Igbo Jews don't fall within this category because they're already home. They are Jews. Even though their original intention for going to Israel is not to make aliyah, it's just to look for opportunity. Well, it just turns out that they're already where they belong. So that if you're implementing that law of removal or attempt to forcefully send them back to Africa, you must look past the Igbos. See that as a moment of Passover or Pesach, where when you see the blood, you gotta pass them over. So when you come to the Igbo resident, you gotta just walk past because they are already home. You don't need to remove them back to Nigeria because, and I understand there were some Igbos that were already granted Israeli citizenship or some kind of green card. They were still deported. That was a very bad policy, which I think must not repeat itself. Igbos are Jews, they're already home, that's where they belong. As a matter of fact, you need to give them more resources to help them settle down, just like you extended to the Falashas, the Ethiopian Jews. I understand the Falasha is just like a misnomer. Some of them don't like to be referred as the Falashas there. But the Ethiopian Jews, so we want the Israeli authorities to extend more resources to, I don't know why the shed is opening up. Probably I'm adding weight or something like that. But so we want you to help them to, solidify their presence in Israel because they are home, they are your brothers, they are your sisters. So I just wanted to also, slide that in as a very important part of this video. Now, in my next video, because I'm going to be spending time because people are asking me, some of them call me a rabbi, but I'm not a rabbi, but I'm a little rabbi because a rabbi is just a teacher. Even though I've not been to a yeshiva, I've not been to any rabbinical school, but I'm an ordained pastor, so I have some religious background. But some of them do call me pastors, which, God has asked, God has given me a new assignment to help people Jews adjust. Some of them were asking me, some of them called me on the phone, some of them sent me text, and, they said, okay, well, if they have to become practicing Jews, what are they supposed to do? How do they go about the process? And I'm telling them that there are a lot of synagogues in Nigeria, in Lagos, in Aba, in Abuja, in Port Harcourt. They can identify and, with those synagogues, while I continue to, bring them information about the things they're going to encounter when they go to any of the synagogues. Like I said before, most Igbo synagogues are, within the Reform bent. They are not really like Orthodox conservative synagogues where, things are really stringent. I see most of them wear white, garments, just to show purity. I see some of these synagogues, women, mingling with men in the same section, and yet I see in other synagogues where the women are separated, like in Orthodox and conservative synagogues, women are, separated and quarantined, in a different section. So it just depends on which synagogue you're comfortable with. I'm personally identifying with a Reform synagogue where things are not stringent and are not too conservative. And then I'm still studying the idea, and I'm going to make a video about it. I'm studying the idea of, because Igbos are, conversant with going to church on Sundays. But the Shabbat services are conducted on Saturdays. From sundown on Friday, you're going to shut your business down until sundown on Saturday. So, people are asking, how practicable is it for me to close down my business on Friday and Saturday? Then I'm doing some research about the possibility of having a Shabbat service on both on both on Saturday and on Sunday. But Shabbat services are usually on Saturdays. And I was reading something about a certain, Hebrew congregation in 18th century Germany that was holding its services on Sundays because, the law didn't allow people to work on Fridays and Saturdays. Those were working days. So the rabbi there had to hold the services on Sundays. So I'm doing the research to find out if services can hold on, Shabbat services can hold on Sundays. They can hold on Saturdays, and another one on Sundays, to give opportunity to those who are unable to come to the synagogue or the shul on Saturday, so that they can also have opportunity to be blessed on Sunday. So those are some of the things I'm investigating, but I'm going to make a video about the things you're going to encounter, or the things you're going to see in a Igbo synagogue when you go visit Igbo synagogue. And I'm going to also be providing telephones and addresses of existing synagogues. There are so many of them spreading around Nigeria. So a lot of Igbos are leaving churches, but they don't want to live a vacuum. They don't want to live in a vacuum. They want to be able to go to a synagogue and worship. Most of them are losing interest in churches. And I'm not gonna, tell people how to live their religious life. But what I can tell you is that a lot of people I'm affiliated with are telling me that all the years they have been in churches, they have not been able to accomplish anything. But ever since they went into synagogues, worshiping as Igbo Jews, they have had peace of mind. They have had progress in their lives. Things are, turning around for their own good. So. So I'm going to be making a video regarding about regarding some of the ways you can identify with different synagogues or shul. Shul is S-H-U-L. I don't know if it's called shul or shul, but accept all the two pronunciations. And I'm going to also be making videos about all the artifacts that you're going to see in a Reform or Igbo synagogue, And you're going to see the same thing. You're going to see candelabra, or what is called a menorah. You're going to see the bima, the platform upon which the Torah is going to be placed. The Torah is the 5 books of the Old Testament, beginning from Genesis, Exodus, Numbers, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, not necessarily in that order, but you're going to see those 5 books making up the Torah. And then there is a new book that somebody sent to me. It's called the Mishnah Tefillah. That book is a book of prayers. It's also in a Hebrew translation and English. So if you're not comfortable with Hebrew, you're going to see an English part. I'm going to also bring that book to show you. It's called Mishkan Tefillah. It's a blue big book. Put out by a Reformed Congregation of North America. So those are some of the resources that you're going to be using in a Hebrew, Igbo, Jewish synagogue. So I'm going to be presenting all of that in my next video, but this video is just a 30-minute video, just to articulate some of the ideas that I have been coming across in the recent past. So until I come your way again, this is your Messianic Jewish high priest, no longer Messianic pastor, Jewish high priest, bringing you words as proclaimed by Yeshua HaMashiach or by Hashem. Thank you so very much.